We look at the world's greatest buildings and bridges, marveling at their strength and permanence. We trust them implicitly. But what if that trust is just an illusion? What if the very limits of human ingenuity are also the source of its most spectacular mistakes? How does a tiny error on a drafting table, a seemingly insignificant change, cascade into a catastrophic chain of failures? Today, we're pulling back the curtain and decoding the biggest, most tragic mistakes in the history of engineering. Modern engineering, the science that builds our world, isn't just a story of triumphs. It's a discipline built upon thousands of failures. In a grim reality, every major mistake writes a new safety rule. These rules, as engineers often say, are written in blood. They serve as stark, permanent reminders of our fragility against the immense forces of nature. And it's crucial to understand that engineering failures are rarely simple calculation errors. More often, they are a toxic cocktail of human factors: unchecked ego, the pressure to rush deadlines, and the dangerous temptation to cut costs. It's in this complex interplay of physics and human psychology that disasters are born. Let's journey back to 1940, to the state of Washington in America, for our first case, the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. Hailed as a marvel of modern design, it opened to great fanfare. Yet only 4 months later, it collapsed in a dramatic, almost unbelievable fashion. Even before its demise, locals had given it a nickname: Galloping Gertie. Why? Because the bridge deck would rise and fall, swaying unnervingly even in moderate winds. The engineers had put their faith in the sheer weight and stiffness of the bridge, believing it was enough to withstand any force. But they overlooked a critical, invisible power: the aerodynamic force created by the wind flowing over and under the structure. On that fateful day, as the wind speed increased to a steady 40 miles per hour, it hit the bridge's natural frequency. The structure entered a state of violent self-amplifying oscillation, known as resonance. The gentle swaying turned into a violent twisting motion. The bridge wasn't just pushed by the wind, it was danced to death, tearing itself apart in a spectacle caught on film. The lesson learned was monumental and changed bridge design forever. You must consider more than just the static load of gravity. The dynamic, moving loads from forces like wind and earthquakes are just as, if not more, crucial. Galloping Gertie taught us that nature always has a vote. Now let's fast forward to 1981 Kansas City, for a tragedy that unfolded not in the open air, but inside a bustling hotel lobby. The Hyatt Regency walkway collapse stands as one of the deadliest structural failures in American history. Inside the hotel's soaring atrium, 2 suspended walkways hung one above the other, offering spectators a bird's-eye view of the events below. During a crowded tea dance, a loud crack echoed through the lobby, and in an instant, both walkways came crashing down. The collapse claimed the lives of 114 people and injured over 200 more. Investigators descended on the scene, desperate to understand how such a modern structure could fail so catastrophically. The cause wasn't a flaw in the original blueprint. The cause was a seemingly minor design change made during construction. The initial design called for 2 separate hanger rods to support the walkways from the ceiling. However, in an effort to simplify the fabrication process, the contractor switched to a single, continuous rod that passed through the upper walkway's support beam to hold the lower one. This simple alteration, made without proper engineering review, effectively doubled the load on the connection point of the upper walkway's support beam. A detail that could have been caught with a single phone call, a simple lack of communication between the engineers who designed it and the contractors who built it, became the direct cause of an immense tragedy. It's a chilling reminder that in engineering, the smallest details carry the weight of lives. Our final case takes us to Seoul, South Korea in 1995. The Sampoong department store collapse is a story less about engineering miscalculation and more about pure, unadulterated greed. On a busy afternoon, the 5-story luxury mall, filled with shoppers, simply pancaked, collapsing into its own basement. The devastation was almost total, and the death toll was staggering. More than 500 people lost their lives. The investigation revealed a horrifying history of reckless decisions. The building was originally designed as a 4-story residential block. The owner, however, illegally added a 5th floor to be used as a restaurant. This change alone put immense stress on the support columns, which were already undersized. Then, to make matters worse, 3 massive air conditioning units, weighing a total of 45 tons, were dragged across the fragile roof to a new position, causing huge cracks to form. For weeks, even hours before the collapse, management was aware of the severe structural danger. Cracks were widening, ceilings were sinking, and loud noises were reported. Yet, fearing a loss of revenue, they refused to shut down the store and evacuate. The Sampoong collapse is a terrifying example of what happens when structural failures are compounded by a catastrophic failure of human ethics. It's a monument to the deadly consequences of prioritizing profit over people. These mistakes, Tacoma, Hyatt Regency, Sampoong, cost hundreds of human lives. They left scars on cities and families that will never fade. But from these ashes, the entire discipline of engineering was reborn, stronger and wiser. The building codes, the safety protocols, and the communication standards that protect us today were all reinforced by the lessons learned from these tragedies. Every bridge you cross, every skyscraper you enter, every plane you fly in, stands tall because of the knowledge gained from those that fell. We must remember that science and engineering do not progress through an unbroken chain of perfection. They advance by confronting, understanding, and learning from repeated, often painful mistakes. The price of progress is vigilance, and the foundation of safety is memory. If you, like us, believe in looking beyond the surface, in decrypting the hidden codes of our world to better understand and control your own life, then don't forget to subscribe to the DecodedLog channel right now. Join us for our next mystery, where we'll delve deeper into the structural engineering failures that transformed the world and the profound scientific lessons they hold. We'll see you then.